Guys, this is James from TeaDB bringing you episode number 108, in between episode number 108. I'm sorry. So I apologize, guys. I am in the midst of moving, so there's lots of stuff all around me. This is going to be the last in-between-isode at this current location. We will be moving sets soon because I am moving my apartment. There's going to be a few more episodes with our familiar location that's been with us since the start of TeaDB, but that will also be moving as well. We are backlogged because Denny is currently or is soon to be in Europe, so we are backlogged there. So you guys can enjoy those episodes until the end of November. But enough about that. We are here to drink some tea. So I'm late. I'm very late. I'm drinking the White2Tea 2016 line. I've been slowly working my way through a number of premium productions, some of which were kindly sent in. We have a episode of Treachery coming up very soon. So this is another one of the top dog teas. It's not the top dog Treachery, but it is Untitled02. I have steeps number 2 and 3. I already drank the first one and the first rinse. Like many of White2Tea's teas, this one is a blend, and you can clearly see if you take a look at the dry leaves that there are a couple different type of leaves just from looking at it. I don't think this is a blend where there's all kinds of stuff thrown in, sort of like, I don't know, a factory tea or even the Mystic from White2Tea's line. This blend feels like it has a couple key components, and they do work pretty well together in my opinion. Anyways, enough talking. We are going to get to the tea. Let's take a quick smell. So the aroma is absolutely nothing special. It is definitely there. It's a lot of florals, nutty. So pretty straightforward as far as that. It's the viscosity I would say is medium to medium heavy. It's somewhat oily, but perhaps not overly so. And I think for me, there's a couple highlights here. The first of which is it has a really nice sort of soft, fluffy texture. It's not soft in the sense that some Iwu tea is really soft. There's definitely a undercurrent of bitterness that has been building steep to steep in this, but it sort of has sort of a, I've had it described to me as sort of like a fluffy characteristic. I definitely get that. So texturally, in the initial sip, right when you're going, you can definitely get that, and then that's sort of followed by bitterness, a little bit of nuttiness, and then you can feel the tea go all the way into the body. So definitely a tea that to pay attention to how you're feeling it in your body. The Treachery definitely gives you similar effects in that sense. There's a light throatiness. There's definitely some throatiness, but it's not super heavy, like for instance the 2015 Last Thoughts. I haven't had the 2016, but presumably it'd be similar. Alright, so here's steep number 3, and I want to just keep on going with pretty hot water, so we are going to reboil. It'd be a pretty fast reboil, but that's okay. Even softer, even thicker, a little bit more bitter, so I think that's just a product of the leaves really opening up and expanding in the gaiwan. Get some hot water on these guys. So we're going to keep this at close to a flash steep as a result. So The aromas are a little bit richer this time around, probably just a byproduct of being a little bit hotter. Continuing to get sort of like those really cotton candy florals to this. I'm getting a little bit of chocolatey notes too now that the tea has cooled down a little bit. And the bitterness is definitely of the sort that is nice in the sense that it's not bitter and stays bitter like a really bad Lipton tea bag that your gong fooing would be. But it's of the sort that, you know, starts as bitterness and transforms into sweetness. And it doesn't leave a bitter, nasty feeling on your mouth. It leaves sort of a sweet taste. So, in that sense, it's the right kind of bitterness. And I think I haven't covered this aspect far enough, but it's a tea where you can feel the depth is really there. You can feel it sort of in your diaphragm, in your chest. And so it's something that sounds kind of strange, frankly, especially if you're unfamiliar with like sort of tea lingo, but definitely pay attention to how the tea sort of feels in your body. This is very different from, I would say, the Bosch, which I think is a little bit softer and a little bit lighter. This is more upfront in its bitterness. I think that tea is a little bit more friendly towards beginners, but I think this tea is much better. I think it's stronger. I think it's going to probably age better. The depth of it and the heaviness of it, I think, is an improvement over that tea. So, even more bitter. That's definitely the most bitter. And that's what I've noted with this tea, is that this bitterness, it starts out almost very lightly bitter, each steep getting maybe slightly more bitter. And it's easily more bitter, in my opinion, than the Treachery from the same year. So that makes it a little bit less drinkable now, in my opinion. But it is the sort that will... It is the good sort of bitterness, but it's a tea that I personally would probably, if I were to buy it, would set it aside for a while, let it mellow out. I don't know if the bitterness is going away anytime soon, but eventually you would hope that some of the rougher edges of the tea would smooth out. The texture is still really nice. The oiliness, the thickness of it continues to be good. The taste is not extraordinarily dynamic. I would say that it's sort of like each steeped one sort of aspect of the profile grows. So in this sense, the bitterness is growing each steep, a little nuttier each infusion as well, and the thickness also rises. But other aspects will die down a little bit. So. And this is the sort of tea where I would not want to forget about it for 30 seconds, as it would be extremely intense, extremely bitter. So it sort of leaves a chocolatey feeling at the back of the mouth. It's thickest sort of at the front. The Pu'erh, I have not had the 2016 Pu'erh, nor have I had that tea recently. But that tea feels very different, even though I think they're both Munghai County material. I don't get that same sort of throat balling effect. That's a really heavy Huigan here. The Huigan, there's definitely some returning sweetness to the throat, which is pleasant, but it's not to the extremity of the Pu'erh. And I may have just oversteeped that here. So we're getting a nice yellow. Cheers. So thick, heavy, bitter, and really quite good. And if I were being 100% honest, this is the tea that would tempt me the most of the more premium price range. Frankly, I'm not buying a lot of young tea these days, but this is a very nice tea, and I would probably buy it before the Treachery. The Treachery, I think, is a more complex, a little bit more dynamic, and a little bit more interesting tea. But that tea is extremely expensive, whereas this tea is just very, very expensive. So I think they're both good teas, and if you are shopping for young tea in those price range, I think both teas are really solid hits. And from my amateur point of view, I think they would both age pretty well. I think there are aspects to them that would definitely improve with time. So thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of White2Tea's Untitled02, named after the Kendrick Lamar song, also a fine song. So check that song out as well while you drink this tea, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers.